All right, shortly after we purchased KT, the travel turtle, we asked some folks on social media, specifically on Facebook, for some suggestions about places to go visit. We got a lot of the regular suggestions that you would normally think. Some of the very popular state parks: Deer Island State Park, Table Rock State Park, places at the beach. But one that was suggested to us by a number of people that kind of surprised us was Lake Greenwood State Park. So we looked into it. We figured we're a little late getting reservations, but let's see what we can find. So we got lucky. We found a reservation for the weekend before the 4th of July at Lake Greenwood State Park. So off we went. Lake Greenwood State Park sits appropriately on Lake Greenwood. The address is actually 96 rather than Greenwood because it's on the southern end of the lake. Beautiful piece of property, right borders on the lake. There are a number of spots right on the waterfront. Literally, people had their boats pulled right up so that some people would use one car to pull their camper and another car to pull their boat. They'd unload the boat as soon as they got there, and the boat and the camper would be right there together. If you're interested in that, very good park for that type of activities. There was also a lot of golf carts there. People brought their golf carts because it's a pretty expansive park. There's a lot of property. People were able to travel around quite a bit and quite easily on their golf carts. Although one thing I did notice, shortly after we got there and we got set up, was getting ready to start working on dinner, a rainstorm rolled in. So there's the rain. So far it hasn't been windy. There hasn't been a need to retract the awning. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, keeping us dry. Those lights are inside-outside lights, so they're safe. Just see beautiful Lake Greenwood State Park. Oh, the wind's picking up a little bit now. Might have to retract this awning and take it inside. So, funny thing about those lights that were supposed to be outdoor friendly, waterproof, the lights themselves were. The extension cord they were plugged into, not so much. Shortly after I cut the camera off, we tripped a breaker. Luckily, it was the GFI rather than the actual breaker. So I went in to reset the GFI after unplugging the extension cord, which had gotten wet, and it would not reset. Happened to look down at my watch, and it was about 5:50 on a Friday afternoon. Did a quick Google search and found there was an RV park in Greenwood. They closed at 6, and they happened to be open on Saturday morning. So I gave them a quick call before they shut to see if they actually had one of those GFI outlets so that we could replace the one in the camper. Fortunately for us, they did. So the next morning, we decided rather than get up and explore the camp, we were going to have breakfast, and the first thing we were going to do was head to Greenwood. And I got to think, we're in 96. Let's ride through 96 and see what 96 has in store. I'd seen a sign or two for the 96 historical site. Figured, what the heck, we'd drive by and see what it looked like. Oh my, little did I realize what a beautiful place it was. While we were checking in at the ranger station here at the park, the ranger happened to mention that in the town of 96 on Saturday night there was going to be a fireworks show. Apparently they usually have a really large 4th of July festival that lasts all week, but because of the virus they had to cancel the festival, but they were still going to go forward with the fireworks. You were just asked to stay in your car. So we decided to stay up late, let the kids stay up late, and go check out the fireworks show. And just like the historic site at 96, the town of 96 did not disappoint. quick walk around of our site here at Lake Greenwood State Park in 96, South Carolina. Got a pretty good angle to back in. You pull up and back in here. It really wasn't that difficult an angle. Come back. One thing that I did notice, while it wasn't too bad left to right in this spot, was pretty severe right here. It might have been a little better if we'd gone a little further back, but notice how fully extended I am on the hitch here. Maybe a little nervous, probably need some more blocks to raise that up. Going back, we're fortunate this particular spot has full hookups. So you see we got our sewer line there. Water is a little different. There's water actually can come out of here. That's what's dripping. I don't really understand that. 30 amp and 50 amp at this particular site. I don't think all of them were 50 amp ready. I'll explain why I got that plug in that 120 in a little bit. There you go, you see my full hookup. Because of the angle and the slant, one thing that's a little uncomfortable for me is the fact that my outlet is actually higher than this inlet. So come disconnect time, that's going to be interesting. Come around here. Oh, one thing to note, notice where the neighbors are. We got a nice barrier, nobody right next to us. Gonna look back behind, nice green space. Probably could set up a tent back here for the kids if you wanted to. A little level space. Somebody else already got a tent set up behind theirs over here. These are the neighbors. Still a little more greenery to kind of separate us. Come around to the actual grounds on this side of the tent, and this side of the camper. We've got a raised area. Really nice, graded out level. One thing, we had rain the first night we were here and a little bit of threatening rain yesterday, so we pulled the table up underneath our awning, and because of that, now we've kind of lost this little bit of space. Normally I'd like to set this table up right here, but we put it over here. We made it work. We put our mat out over here. If it hadn't been for rain, maybe we might have been a little bit different. Also note, the fire pit is right here close, which is nice. Now we want to give a quick summary of our trip and the campground at Lake Greenwood State Park. It was a really nice park.
It was really nice. It's a big park.
Very spread out. One thing to note, there are two campgrounds, Campground 1 and Campground 2. We stayed in Campground 1, which is the larger campground. We don't have a whole lot to say about Campground 2.
Except that was where the boat landing was.
Yes, there was a boat landing over there on that side. We did a walk through of there, but I didn't really pay that close of attention to the sites in particular. The whole campground is paved, including all the sites, which was really nice. Probably a third of the sites in Campground 1 got full hookups. Everything looked like they had 50 amp and 30 amp. So that was nice. A lot of those sites are on the water, and that's hard to beat.
Yeah, it's like kind of two loops, and the exterior of the outside loop is all on the water, but almost all of them had some kind of access. Now, not very few of them, and we walked around kind of scouting out for sites for the next trip, and very few of them had where I would call swimming access, especially for the kids.
Right. Yeah.
They kind of had little drop-offs where you kind of had to jump into the water. As kids were older, probably would have been fine. Our kids, a little hesitant.
It did make for a really good place to pull your boat up.
But a lot of people had boats pulled up, so if you are, the kind of camper that also likes to take your boat somewhere, this is an excellent venue for that. Whichever campsite you're at, even if you're on the interior loop, people were sharing, boat hookup sites. People had their boats, big boats, little boats, speed boats, pontoon boats, jet skis, all pulled right up to their site, and then, spending the day. They're in their camper, walk down, get on the boat, spend the day on the lake. The lake is gorgeous.
And on Campground 2, there is actually a dock. I believe you can rent slips there if you wanted to keep it in a slip rather than just pull it up on the shore. So that was nice. Now, we did not go in the bathhouses. I wish I would have. I can't speak to the quality and cleanliness of the bathhouses. They look fine from the outside because I did not go in.
It's a very populated campground, so generally those are ones that have the better bathhouses. It was very full. We were kind of lucky to get the site we got.
Well, and it's an active campground. There's a lot of activity going on. We mentioned the boats, but a lot of people bring the golf carts. So there's a lot of golf carts running around. I'm surprised at how many people seem to know each other. So I get a feeling that a lot of locals were there. Now, we were there the weekend before 4th of July. So my guess is there's a lot of somewhat locals
that's what they do
for 4th of July is they get together.
And a lot of people were there. We look at it staying for a week or more.
Yeah. Some of the pros we've already mentioned, how nice it was and being on the water. There's a really nice shoreline trail.
There's 2 loops. So the first loop we did with the kids. It was right on the shore of the lake. It was gorgeous. There were so many places where it was just the most beautiful views.
Right.
There was a breeze the whole time because of the shore. There were lots and lots of benches around, so you could every kind of little point that they hit. There was a bench to sit and enjoy the view. I took the afternoon and walked the first one again and the second one. The second one is less well marked, less traveled, mainly because you do have to do like a mile and a half to get to the start of that one. There were several places where the trail, it was marked, but it was not passable. I had to backtrack once and get on an upper loop that went through the woods, which is extremely high, extremely well not marked. It was very flat. Once you got up, it was flat and easy terrain, but it was, to me, not well marked. And there were several times where it got really close to the bank. It was very weedy. I'm a little nervous about snakes, so that made me a little nervous. I did see a giant armadillo that came out of the woods and just walked along the trail with me for, about 100 yards. And I was kind of like, okay, I don't know much about armadillos. We're going to kind of let you get ahead. But it's beautiful. There was some amazing sights. There was turtles and all kinds of cool things you could see. I would have been really nervous if I had the kids or if I had, if I didn't have to be. It wasn't as well marked as I would love to like, or as well traveled. Most of them are, extremely well traveled.
Yeah. One of the other things, the pros of the facility, at the main office where you check in, there was a really nice civilian Conservation Corps museum, kind of a history museum. They had a lot of artifacts there. I highly encourage you to walk through that. Take a look at it.
Greenwood's one of the 16 that was built by the Conservation Corps in the 30s.
And it's a really neat piece of history. One of the cons, we mentioned not really having a place to swim right off your campsite. That's a little bit of a drawback. The only place that we really could find to swim
without the drop. There were people swimming that were comfortable with the drop. We weren't.
Yeah. So we found a sandy beach that was on the other side of the office. So you got to get in the car and drive to the other end of the park.
Or the golf cart.
Or if you had a golf cart, yeah. So that was a little bit of a hike to have to do that.
But it was a decent sandy beach, sand a good ways out.
Right, picnic tables there. There were a lot of families that were there.
That was a lot of the day families.
A lot of day trip folks that were cooking out and making a day of it. So that was nice. It's over by the picnic shelters. There's quite a few of those.
Yeah.
And we enjoyed that part.
But overall, it was a lovely park. It was a lovely community.
Yes.
We thoroughly enjoyed.
And it'd definitely be on the list to go back and visit a second time.